For nearly 2 decades, men's tennis was defined by an unprecedented era of dominance led by Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. These three legends, often referred to as the Big Three, didn't just collect trophies, they reshaped the history and global appeal of the sport. As their reign begins to fade, many feared that tennis might face an identity crisis, struggling to maintain its momentum and global viewership without the star power of its most iconic figures. Roger Federer, widely hailed as the most elegant and technically gifted player the sport has seen, was the first to step away from the game. He officially retired in 2022, closing a career that featured 20 Grand Slam titles, 310 weeks as world number 1, including a record 237 consecutive weeks, and a massive global fan base that extended beyond tennis into mainstream popular culture. Federer's final matches were not just sporting events, they were tributes to his legacy, watched by millions across continents. Rafael Nadal followed suit more quietly, announcing his retirement in November 2024. Known for his unparalleled dominance on clay, including 14 Roland Garros titles, and his fighting spirit, Nadal ended his career with 22 Grand Slam titles and a reputation as one of the toughest competitors to ever step on court. His rivalry with Federer, especially in matches like the 2008 Wimbledon final, is considered by many to be the pinnacle of modern tennis. Novak Djokovic is now without a doubt the greatest of all time, and he is still active, but at 38 years old, his career is clearly nearing its conclusion. Despite injuries and changing generations, he continues to defy age and records alike. Djokovic's Grand Slam total currently stands at 24, the highest in men's tennis history and tied with Margaret Court's all-time record. He has spent over 400 weeks as world number 1, another record, and has won all 9 ATP Masters 1000 events multiple times, a feat unmatched by any other player. His sustained excellence and relentless ambition have made him the most statistically dominant player in the sport's history. With Federer retired, Nadal stepping away, and Djokovic playing his final chapters, the question emerged, who would carry the torch? Who would ensure that tennis remains a sport of global interest, capable of filling stadiums and captivating viewers across the world? Enter the next generation, and not just a talented group of hopefuls, but what now looks like a legitimate new Big Three. Carlos Alcaraz, already a Wimbledon champion at just 20 years old in 2023, has brought a breath of fresh air to the sport with his electrifying style, fearless approach, and contagious charisma. He has already claimed 3 Grand Slam titles, the US Open in 2022, Wimbledon in 2023, and Roland Garros in 2025, becoming the youngest man to win majors on all 3 surfaces since the Open era began. Alcaraz plays with a mix of old-school variety and modern explosiveness, often drawing comparisons to Federer for his creativity, Nadal for his intensity, and Djokovic for his all-court versatility. Alongside him stands Alcaraz Sinner, the 23-year-old Italian who has methodically climbed the ranks to become the current world number 1. Sinner's rise has been less flashy, but no less impressive. He won his first Grand Slam at the Australian Open in 2024, defeating Novak Djokovic in the semifinals and Daniil Medvedev in a 5-set final. Since then, he has added more titles and built a reputation for consistency, calmness under pressure, and remarkable shot tolerance. In 2024, he finished the season as the ATP's top-ranked player and led Italy to its first Davis Cup title in nearly 5 decades. And while Sinner even won a doping ban during the 3-month hiatus, he still continued to be the top-ranked player. But what makes this new generation even more intriguing is the endorsement it has received from those who once hoped to inherit the crown themselves. World number 3, Alexander Zverev and 2-time Grand Slam finalist Stefanos Tsitsipas, once touted as the successors to the Big Three, have openly acknowledged that the standards have risen since Alcaraz and Sinner emerged. Both Zverev and Tsitsipas spent the last decade attempting to break through the Djokovic-Nadal-Federer stronghold, reaching the finals of major tournaments but falling short of establishing their own era of dominance. Zverev, who lost the 2020 US Open final after holding championship points, and Tsitsipas, who fell to Djokovic in the 2021 and 2023 French Open finals, now find themselves slightly behind this new wave. Their skill and experience still make them dangerous threats, but the sense is growing that their window to dominate may have passed, not because of age or decline, but because Alcaraz and Sinner have elevated the level once again. Even most recently, Tsitsipas and Zverev crashed out very early in the 2025 Wimbledon, while Alcaraz and Sinner alongside Djokovic are favorites for the title. And so, the fears of an identity crisis have largely faded. The likes of Alcaraz and Sinner are not merely placeholders in a post-Big Three world, they are rewriting what the future of tennis looks like. Crowds are still filling up stadiums, TV ratings remain high, and most importantly, the rivalries are real, competitive, and emotionally engaging. The transition from one golden era to another was never going to be seamless, but what we are seeing now is a sport not in decline, but in transformation. The legends of the past may no longer be on the court, but their influence echoes in the styles, standards, and ambitions of those rising to take their place. Alcaraz is often seen as the ghost of Nadal, aggressive, fast, very strong, while Sinner is seen as more similar to Djokovic, dominating, controlling, precise, with a plan to slowly suffocate his opponent. Alcaraz and Sinner respect each other, but they also respect the Big Three. After securing his place in the round of 16 at the 2025 Wimbledon, Alcaraz spoke about Djokovic and his intelligence, saying, "Right now, I believe Novak Djokovic is the smartest guy on the court. Novak is undoubtedly the player with the most knowledge about this sport. With his experience and all he has lived on a tennis court, having watched many matches in his career, I think he knows the most about this sport." Sinner has had a similar opinion. On comparisons to Djokovic, he said, "While he has more experience than I have, I may be a faster hitter, but in another way, I am also very consistent. Just like him, he gave me a lot of information on how to make my game like his. But in my style, the subtle message here is big. Sinner isn't just respecting a legend, he's preparing to sit at that same table. The blend of admiration and ambition creates narrative, aged wisdom against youthful fire, but youth learning from wisdom in real time." This just shows that Sinner and Alcaraz are so mature for their age, maybe even more mature than the big three were at that stage of their careers. The Spaniard and the Italian are still so young, and if the early signs are anything to go by, the future of men's tennis looks not only secure, but exhilarating. Iconic eras in sports often leave such a powerful legacy that what follows can feel like a quiet pause, a transitional phase before the next wave of greatness arrives. After the era of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, widely considered the greatest trio in tennis history, many expected men's tennis to enter such a lull, but according to Alexander Zverev, that hasn't happened. In fact, the opposite may be true. The German star believes that Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner are not only filling the void, but elevating the game to new heights. Tennis has changed in the last few years, and I'm not saying Alcaraz and Sinner are better or worse than the big three, but they just hit the ball harder and the game has become faster. Zverev told the Sunday World in an exclusive interview at an Adidas event in London, shortly before his shock first-round exit at Wimbledon. Zverev, who has been a fixture in the top 10 for most of the past decade and reached the US Open final in 2020, has witnessed the sport's transformation firsthand. He explained that the game's evolution isn't just about two rising stars dominating the headlines, but a broader shift in competitiveness and depth across the board. Tennis has changed in my time in the game, and it will change and evolve again. It won't just be Carlos and Jannik winning titles, but more champions will come through as well, he said, hinting at a new generation with greater physicality, power, and adaptability. One of the most notable changes, according to Zverev, is the incredible depth in the men's field. Unlike earlier in his career, when the top-ranked players could safely assume they wouldn't face serious threats from those ranked outside the top 15 or 20, today's field is stacked with dangerous players deep into the rankings. The big difference now is the depth at the top. We have champions all the way down to number 30 in the rankings, and that wasn't the case when I started, he explained. The top 5 in the world would not have really looked out for the guy who was number 25 and think he would be a problem when I started, but this is not the case anymore. Despite the increased competitiveness across the board, Zverev made it clear who currently leads this new wave. Clearly, Carlos and Jannik are ahead of everyone at the top now, but the depth we have in the men's game is different compared to when Roger, Rafa, and Novak were dominating. The discussion around Alcaraz and Sinner's place in the sport is now reaching into bold territory. Tennis legend John McEnroe recently suggested that both players would be favorites if they were to face Rafael Nadal on his beloved clay, even in his prime. While the comment sparked heated debate, Stefanos Tsitsipas, who has faced both Alcaraz and Nadal on clay, did not entirely dismiss the idea. "I have played both Nadal and Alcaraz on clay," Tsitsipas told the Sunday World. "Both of them are great ball strikers, both on clay and hard, but I would favor, as a creative player more of a creative player on clay, I would favor Carlos. I feel like he has way more options when he plays, and it's quite evident and clear. I mean, it's not something absurd. So I feel like Carlos would have chances against prime Nadal on clay. I think so. I'm not saying he would have beaten him, but he would have had chances to create something special against him. It's a stunning statement when you consider Nadal's clay court record: 14 French Open titles, 112 wins at Roland Garros, and a win percentage of over 97% on the surface. But such is the level that Alcaraz has already reached. The 22-year-old has become the youngest player in history to win Grand Slams on hard court clay and grass, capturing the US Open in 2022, Wimbledon in 2023, and Roland Garros in 2025. He has spoken openly about his ambition to surpass Novak Djokovic's all-time Grand Slam record of 24 major titles. Meanwhile, Sinner, only 23, is building his own legacy. With 3 Grand Slam titles in the last 18 months and a commanding presence as world number 1, he's emerging as perhaps the most consistent player on tour, blending calm precision with relentless pressure. As Alcaraz prepares to face Andrei Rublev in his 4th-round match at Wimbledon, the broader picture is becoming increasingly clear. Tennis has entered a new era. The dominance of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic will always be remembered, but the next great chapter is already being written, and if the current trajectory continues, the new big 3 of Alcaraz, Sinner, and perhaps another emerging force may not only live up to the standard set before them, they might just raise it.